If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. Now, Town Square Media has new tools that can help your business stand out and grow. Go to GetLocalCustomersNow.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too with Town Square Media. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Start growing your business today. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com. That's GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
South Jersey's home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Well, something to think about, for sure.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Thursday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig live in the Matt Black Kia Studios. Yes, that's Matt Black Kia. They want to get you approved today. That's Matt Black Kia in the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Visit them online at mattblackkia.com. Sixers and Bucks tonight. Sixers on a back-to-back affair. So we have Kevin McCormick will join us coming up in about 20 minutes from now to get more into the 76ers as they almost won last night. You know, if Joel Embiid makes that heave, I mean, that would have been probably the play of the year, right? So, listen, they now got the Bucks game. Look, you lost 2 games. Now you got to start winning some games, right? Now you got to go out there and get the job done. And you know what? Joel Embiid is playing tonight. Also, it looks like Tobias Harris is playing tonight. So at least one of Joel Embiid's sidekicks, fellow star players, whatever you want to call Tobias Harris, is back in the game tonight. Furkan Korkmaz is questionable with a sprained ankle. So we'll get to see at least a little bit better version of the 76ers tonight. And you hear all the action right here at 7 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. I got to get to some Eagles talk before we get to the Sixers stuff, though. I want to give you a little quick hit on the Sixers news off the top here. But I got to jump over to the Eagles stuff because we didn't get a chance to touch on all of what was said yesterday at the presser. And I'm finding more and more in the 24, 36 hours since that presser happened, I feel like more and more people don't fully understand what was heard and said yesterday. And I know part of it is because there are people on social media who like to present certain biased opinions. And I understand that people on social media that when you listen to them, they kind of fall in line with your personal perspective on things. So I totally get the fact that there are a lot of people out there who have a perspective on these guys. Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni. By the way, I haven't heard anybody talk about Andy Weidel. Where's all the Joe Douglas lovers? Well, what about Andy Weidel? Andy Weidel sounds and looks like a football guy. No one wants to say anything about him right now. But back to Sirianni. I understand that there is still some freshness to the Doug Peterson being fired wound. The idea that you got rid of the guy that won you a Super Bowl. And I completely understand that. And I've been on the record multiple times saying I would not have fired Doug Peterson. Do I understand why they moved on without Dougie P? Yes. Do I agree with it? It wouldn't have been my choice. And I understand people view Sirianni as he's a yes man for Howie and Jeffrey Lurie. But I understand that sentiment is also coming from a place of bias against Sirianni. Sirianni is an individual who, like Doug Peterson, is a football lifer. Unlike Doug Peterson, though, Nick Sirianni is much more open to discussing things. And when Nick Sirianni explained this in the press conference yesterday, to me, this is peak Nick Sirianni, because I never heard an explanation from this from Doug Peterson, from Chip Kelly, from Andy Reid, from Ray Rhodes. I didn't hear it from any of those guys. Nick Sirianni explaining the wide receiver position just like this is what I need more of in my life.
Get used to releasing off the ball, right? That's a big thing. Like when these corners are up in their face, they got to get used to releasing off the football and winning off the football. What else do they got to get used to? They got to get used to catching the ball in traffic and catching the ball with bodies around them. Usually there's no bodies around them, right? They get open so much that they're right here and there's no bodies around them, right? And so now they're catching the ball here. Boom. The ball's trying to get smacked out of their hands. I shook the camera or shook the thing a little bit. I'm sorry. All right, but I'm excited. We're talking about wideouts. So it's just a different game.
First of all, if you're not down with Sirianni being excited to talk football, then you don't love football. All right? I'm just being completely honest with you. That dude is excited to talk football. If you don't like that, you don't love football. Because that's how football people feel about talking about football. I love football. I watch NFL and college football every weekend, every year, for as long as I can remember. It was literally to a point when I was a kid that my parents put a stationary bike in front of the TV so I could exercise and have all my exercise stuff near the TV so I could watch football and exercise. So that's who I am. So I have an appreciation for Nick Sirianni's excitement about football. That's number one. Number two, his explanation is an amazing descriptor for why certain wide receivers are not successful in the NFL. When Sirianni explains that there are games that you're going up against a guy who is not going to play in the NFL. And then you wonder why, I wonder why that receiver didn't play well in the NFL. Or why did that guy not have a good NFL career? But he was an amazing college receiver. He broke all these records. Because if you can't get off of press coverage, if you can't get off the line, if you can't create separation, if you're not a fluid enough route runner, if you're not a receiver that can do certain things, you will not be successful in the NFL. John Ross has amazing top-end speed. He is an amazing freak speedster. But what John Ross showed you in Cincinnati and what the Giants are going to learn about him is that unless he's coached up better, he is not good at getting away from cornerbacks in short spaces. So if he has to run a slant route, he can run away from you once he's 20, 30, 40 yards down the field, but a slant route requires hitch, boom, out. That's not John Ross's skill. John Ross was a deep threat receiver in college, and he's a deep threat receiver in the NFL. Meanwhile, T.Y. Hilton is not as blazing fast as John Ross, but he gets away from the guy at the line of scrimmage. Sirianni understands that some wide receivers just can't be successful in the NFL, and some can. And Sirianni has a long history of getting the most out of his receivers, as he details with just 3 of the receivers that he has coached right here. All right, we're going to do a take 2 on that Sirianni cut. This was Nick Sirianni talking about the ex-receivers that he's coached. All right. Suspense is killing me. We're going to try to reset that audio cut with Sirianni. There it is. All right. Apologies for a little technology. We had an internet outage about almost an hour ago now, but I think we're back up and running here. Here is the Sirianni cut. This was Sirianni explaining the kinds of receivers he's coached.
What does an X receiver look like? Well, I've had different X's. I've had T.Y. Hilton, who was 5'9", 180 pounds. He played X for us. I've had Dwayne Bowe, who was 6'2", 220 pounds. He played X for us. I had Keenan Allen, who was 6'3", 200. And all these guys that I'm saying, T.Y. was fast. Keenan was quick, not fast. Dwayne Bowe was powerful. They all played different. So it's just a matter of, can that guy do what you want that person to do on that outside? Can he? And really, when you say X, it's can he win one-on-one matchups consistently?
See, we have an idea of what a receiver is supposed to look like or be. Nick Sirianni says, I don't care what a receiver is supposed to look like and be. What I care about is, can the guy just do the basic thing in the NFL? And you know what? I think that there's a reason why this guy was hired. And as Adam Kaplan said earlier today on the Sports Bash, it seems like people in the Eagles organization are happy with Nick Sirianni. Now, that makes him a yes man. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. But I didn't hear a yes man yesterday. I heard a guy, and this is just my perspective, who loves football and looks at the game and verbalizes it differently than Doug Peterson. And for whatever reason, the Eagles organization is happy with that.
I spoke with some people I trust with the Eagles, and they two guys really were pretty impressed. They loved his energy and his passion. I talked to someone who coached with Sirianni with the Colts, who said that he absolutely will hold players accountable. So you hear how he talks. He sounds like a guy with high energy, in your face. He talked about competition, which was music to the front office's ears. They love that.
Listen, I understand Doug Peterson won you the only Super Bowl in franchise history. But let's not sell the stock on Nick Sirianni yet. I think there's something valuable there. And it's something that has a chance to be very good. Listen, this is either going to go really well or really bad. It's not it's not an in between. This is not a 7-9, 8 and well, it's not even 7-9, but it's not it's not an 8-9 or 7-10 coach here. This is not a 9-8 coach year in and year out. This is a guy who's either going to get you to 10-7 or he's going to go 6-11. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Text board is open at 609-403-0973. We also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where the Joe Show chimes in as he watches over on YouTube, says Sirianni isn't the best talker, but he knows what he's doing. That's a huge part, Joe. You're right. I don't need my head coach to be a linguist. I don't need him to be the greatest public speaker. I need him to do a job and coach football. We get so passionate about how people say things. We pick and choose the smallest. Oh, well, Sirianni didn't say this or that right. Or Sirianni stuttered or stumbled. Remember when Doug Peterson was hired? The guy couldn't put a sentence together without saying, and, Literally back in 2016, I had a blooper reel in 2016 of all the times Doug Peterson couldn't articulate a sentence properly. But you know what? A year later, that guy won a Super Bowl. I don't care if Sirianni's not a great talker. He's got energy. He understands football. And you know what? I need my football coach to know football. I don't need him to be the greatest orator in world history. So, listen, I'd rather have the football junkie than the guy who speaks amazing. You know who used to win press conferences? Chip Kelly. You know why Chip Kelly's back in college coaching at UCLA? Because he was more concerned about things that weren't important in the NFL than what was important for them to win games. Big part of it. All right, Game Night here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get into the Sixers coming up in just a bit. We do have some further news about the 76ers, and we're going to get into the details of it with Kevin McCormick coming up in 5 minutes. But the reports are coming out that Ben Simmons is not just missing tonight's game, but the illness that Simmons has that is not COVID related. Remember, this is not a COVID situation, but the illness he is dealing with has not allowed him to travel with the team to Milwaukee. So this is an interesting side note, okay? Because here's the Sixers schedule coming up. The Sixers schedule allows him to come back at a certain point if he did not travel with the team. Because usually if you don't travel, that means that you're not going to rejoin them somewhere on the road trip. The next two games are in Milwaukee, tonight and Saturday. They return to the Wells Fargo Center for 3 straight home games next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Ben Simmons not traveling, to me, says that he is not going to play again until Monday at least. So whatever this illness is he's dealing with, at least Tobias Harris is back tonight. They almost won the game last night with Joel Embiid trying to do almost everything and doing a full court chuck of the ball. So we need to plan for no more Ben Simmons until at least Monday. Again, the report is Ben Simmons did not travel with the team to Milwaukee. He is still out with an illness, which means he's not just unavailable tonight. I would expect him not to be available for Saturday as well. So that means he probably will be available again on Monday. So, yeah, we don't know what this illness is. We don't know the severity of it, but we do know that Seth Curry, Tobias Harris are playing tonight. Ben Simmons did not travel with the team. We'll get into all those details coming up with Kevin McCormick right here, our Sixers beat writer for 97.3 ESPN.com, right here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. You can customize your alerts right now. You want Sixers updates only? You want Eagles updates only? You can do it all. Customize your alerts right now with the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City.
It's the 2021 NFL Draft exclusively on 97.3 ESPN. Who will the Eagles take with the 12th pick?
With the 12th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select.
Tune in to 97.3 ESPN to find out. Thursday, April 29. Round 1 coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's the 2021 NFL Draft, and it's only on South Jersey's exclusive radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. 97.3 ESPN.
At Ocean First Bank, our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
For nearly 120 years, we've offered our business lending customers the personal and professional integrity we demand for our own business. Your success is our success. Now, more than ever, it matters where you bank. Your business matters to us.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Learn more at oceanfirst.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Hey Jersey, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Bally's in Atlantic City. They've got big chairs and even bigger TVs. You can bet on all the games in style. This is your chance to win big. You'll feel like an all-star. Just stop in right off the boardwalk. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's, now open in Atlantic City. 21 plus and present in New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers versus Bucks tonight. You hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. Tom McGinnis on the call. Our Sixers pregame coverage being brought to you by Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro, South Jersey's premier sports rehabilitation and physical therapy center, treating the pros and the Joes. Visit them online at trifectatherapeutics.com. No Ben Simmons tonight. Tobias Harris is back. Joel Embiid is playing on a back-to-back. How about them apples? We're getting to all that right now with Kevin McCormick, our Sixers beat writer over at 97.3 ESPN.com. And as all guests, he appears on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Kevin, how you doing today?
Josh, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm doing especially well now that I know that Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris are playing tonight. To me, I think, first of all, let's start with Embiid. To me, it's a big deal that Embiid's playing tonight because I outlined this on my article on the website at 973ESPN.com. If he at least stays on pace and plays the final 12 of 15 games this year, he will have played the same percentage of games that Bill Walton did years ago when he won the league MVP and he missed a big chunk of the season. Now, of course, Embiid missed a chunk of the season because of COVID protocols, not just because of injury. So to me, him playing this back-to-back says to me at least that he and the Sixers are both in concert to make sure that he's playing down the stretch this season because they're taking the number one seed and potentially this MVP race seriously.
I think there could be some truth to that. Obviously, Embiid has said it time and time again. I think he does want to win the MVP, and that is why we're seeing him out on the court here. And he's just a competitive guy. So seeing all these guys that are out right now, that have been out, obviously they're getting some reinforcements back tonight. But having to be the guy to right the ship, he doesn't want to just sit out. He wants to finish atop the East. He wants to be in the MVP conversation. So seeing him out there, it's a good sign. Hopefully they're not trying to overexert him, but there's no denying that this team is definitely doing its all to not only keep Embiid in the MVP conversation, but try to remain atop the Eastern Conference.
when you think about what's also going on with this game tonight, this is obviously an important game because, those Bucks are trying to sneak up into that 2 seed. And with all the issues the Nets are having, there's a possibility the Bucks could do it. So the Sixers aren't just playing for something. The Bucks are playing for something as well tonight.
Absolutely. These are two teams in the East right now that are looked at as favorites. And not only that, they're also two teams who are trying to make a statement. I believe the last time we were on, we were talking about how the Nets were pretty much handed the Eastern Conference. And if I'm the Sixers or I'm the Bucks, I'm looking to make a statement down the stretch to just say, hey, even though you've tried to hand the Eastern Conference to this team all year, we're still here. We still have the talent. We're also teams trying to turn the corner and take that next step.
Kevin, obviously, Tobias Harris is going to be back tonight. Big deal for the Sixers. Listen, they were in 2 games against really good players. Steph Curry losing his mind on Monday night, and then Chris Paul, who, if that guy's cementing a Hall of Fame career, I don't know who the hell is. And Devin Booker is playing a great season. You almost beat both of those teams. Now Tobias Harris is back. Talk about how important that is to get that, I don't want to call him a sidekick, but that second star back on the court to play next to Embiid for the Sixers.
I would have to say there's benefits both from a tangible and intangible standpoint. First off, Tobias Harris for the past year and a half has been looked at as a leader in this locker room guy, someone that guys turn to. I think just getting him back and back out on the floor to do what he can as a leader is going to be a nice jolt for a team that's looking for some energy after this 2-game skid. And like you said, he has been the right-hand man to Embiid all season in terms of scoring and being that 1-2 punch in the offense. So if there was ever a game to get him back, it's for this series because they're going to need, every ounce of offense that they can get. And Tobias has definitely not been one to shy away from it.
Now, the guy who will not be playing tonight is Ben Simmons. The report came out that Ben is not even traveling with the team to Milwaukee, which from my assertion, that means we wouldn't see him until at least Monday. That'd be my working assumption. So it's obviously an illness, not COVID related. So whatever Simmons is dealing with, hopefully he recovers soon. But to me, it's almost a blessing in disguise because at least for sure, no Ben tonight, no Ben Saturday. Doc, you guys plan accordingly because for sure that Ben won't be available for the next 2 games.
And picking up George Hill and having him back in the lineup also softens this blow. Now that they're closer to full health, in the past when Ben Simmons was out, you kind of had to turn and look and wonder where ball handling and where facilitation was going to come from. But now they have a plethora of guys who can put on the floor and facilitate, whether it be George Hill, Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton, even Furkan Korkmaz a little bit, even though he's questionable right now with the sprained ankle. Not to mention, Tobias Harris has done well in that point forward role in the past this year. So obviously you want Ben Simmons out there for a matchup like this, but like you said, now they have the time to game plan. They have more than enough to help soften the blow without him. And even Embiid has stepped up as a facilitator with Simmons out. So I think they'll do just fine in terms of being able to fill the void he brings outside of what he brings defensively, because he is one of one in terms of a defender.
Kevin McCormick joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Kevin MCC NBA on Twitter, joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers versus Bucks tonight at 7 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN FM. You mentioned George Hill. I'm glad you brought him up because we need to have a conversation about Shake Milton. All right. I feel like the last 2 days, social media has turned into hate Shake Miltonville. And it's like, I understand that people are frustrated with him, but you also got to realize that guys can have a couple of bad days at the office. In the last 2 games, he's only scoring 5 points per game. He has a total of 7 turnovers. So you could argue that there was never a better time for George Hill to come back than now, because for whatever reason, Shake's having a rough stretch right now of games.
Not only have you gotten George Hill to be, finally make his debut with the Sixers, but you've also gotten some very nice performances from Tyrese Maxey, who has kind of been on the roller coaster of being in and out of the rotation. But like you said, Shake's obviously been in a bit of a slump right now. I don't think it's anything to go rushing towards the panic button for. And even Doc Rivers said the same thing last night, that he's still riding with Shake, and he understands that it's a long season. Guys are going to ebb and flow. And when they're playing essentially every 48 hours, I feel like a broken record saying it, but that definitely does take a toll. So having George Hill, having Tyrese Maxey to fall back on has been nice. And Shake, I mean, it's going to happen. He's a role player. He's going to have those tough stretches, but as he continues to get acclimated and fall into his role even more, he'll be more than good to go. I'm not really worried about what he's going to bring come postseason.
Yeah, and I know he's not literally this, but the old saying is shooters shoot, right? The idea is
Absolutely.
that sometimes you got to just keep chucking it till you got to keep playing until you get out of the funk. So to me, I'd rather Shake Milton be going through the funk on April 22nd than June 22nd, right? So, if he's going to have a bad stretch of games, it's better to be right now than in the middle of a 7-game series in the second round of playoffs or the conference finals, because this is the time for you not just to win games, but get out whatever's in your system. Like listen, Matisse Thybulle plays really good defense, but he gave you nothing offensively. So, at least from Ben Simmons, he's not going to put up a zero burger on the board, and Thybulle for now he can get away with that because it's a regular season.
No doubt. And even Matisse Thybulle has started to figure it out offensively. I forget which game it was, but a couple of games before he had about 11.7 rebounds. He gave you a little bit of everything. Doc Rivers and Danny Green are kind of doing their best to take him under his wing and explore using him as a cutter and trying to, still form that jump shot, which sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. But listen, if he can give you any sort of, production on offense, that's it. Because we saw last night, he did a phenomenal job on Devin Booker. He has shown time and time again that he is not scared to take up the task of defending all-stars. And looking at these teams that you have to go through in the East, there's a lot of strong guard and wing players, and you can look no further than this matchup tonight with Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton to deal with. So if Matisse can just continue to figure it out, he is going to be arguably the biggest X factor for the Sixers coming up.
Yeah, according to Second Spectrum Analytics, the players who Matisse Thybulle guards shoot under 40% on the year. By comparison, when Ben Simmons guards players, they shoot 41%. So he's actually statistically better of a perimeter defender than even Ben Simmons is, which is saying something. So, it's if you don't get offense from Thybulle or much offense from Thybulle, you can live without it. You would like to get some offense from just to balance out the floor, obviously. But he's given you a lot more defensively than people realize, I think. And I know it's not sexy. I know doesn't go up on a highlight reel on SportsCenter. It's not part of whatever that, what is that segment that Shaq does with his best highlights on TNT? That doesn't go on a highlight reel, but it wins you basketball games, Kevin.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, that's the goal. They've all said it throughout the year. The stats really don't matter. The only thing that they're focused on is winning games, and Matisse Thybulle helps win games. And opposing teams should be thankful that he only plays about 19 to 20 minutes a night, because if he was able to play upwards of closer to 30, and you could have him and Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid out on the floor together for long stretches, the team would be almost impossible to score on.
Let's not forget, to me, the guy who I think his role is going to be eventually, Kevin, is Bruce Bowen. And Bruce Bowen didn't become Bruce Bowen until he was in his early 30s. Thybulle is in his early 20s. If Thybulle can figure this out in like the next 2 years, he's still going to be 5-6 years ahead of Bruce Bowen, who is arguably one of the greatest perimeter defenders of the last 20 years. So if Thybulle we can give him some time to figure this out offensively, I think that's what his potential could be. I think he can be that guy that gives Ben Simmons a little bit of a breather eventually, and he could be out there, and it could be Thybulle on Harden and Ben on Durant, or however you want to switch it up, and you at least have a shooter's chance, for lack of a better term, to at least deal with teams like that.
He's gone through some nice stretches where he's shot the ball pretty effective from deep. So it is there. You just kind of have to continue to water the plant and give it sunlight. But listen, having a guy like Danny Green in here in this locker room and having Matisse be able to pick his here every day, I think it's going to be one of those, secret things that years down the line, we're going to hear Matisse Thybulle still talking about the things that Danny Green did for him over the course of this season. But listen, even with what he's at right now, you could say Matisse Thybulle is a Tony Allen type player, and Tony Allen was, carved out a nice career for himself. Even Kobe went on to say that he was the toughest defender he ever had to go against. But I think the shot will come along, and if he can continue to build into that 3-and-D mold of player, he is going to be just invaluable for this team in the long term.
At Kevin MCC NBA on Twitter. Kevin McCormick joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers versus Bucks tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris are playing tonight. Ben Simmons, he isn't even on the road trip, so you will not see Ben Simmons tonight. Of course, Tom McGinnis on the call here on your home for radio for Sixers basketball, 97.3 ESPN. Kevin, just a little bit of a broader perspective. Obviously, the Sixers want to keep winning. They want to keep that number one seed. But part of the number one seed is the fact that the Nets, they kids seem to actually want to win games or even be on the court. And James Harden had a setback this week. Durant, he has a thigh contusion, which is supposedly on the same leg that he hurt his hamstring, right? Kyrie Irving, he's out there balling, but he's not Durant. He's not Harden. And I'm still convinced that if the Nets can't get their everything together, I don't know if this team is an NBA championship team, which opens the door for if they're the 2 seed or even the 3 seed, for goodness sake. They're going to play in the second round. They're going to play the Bucks. They're going to play a team like the Hawks or the Knicks or the Heat in the first, second round. And they're going to be in a boatload of trouble if they don't get their situation together, which leaves the door open for the 76ers.
Yeah, along with trying to figure it out on the playoffs, they are going to have a tough road ahead of them. There's a reality where they could see Miami in round 1, Milwaukee in round 2, the Sixers in round 3, and then have to go on to the NBA Finals. So it is definitely not an easy road for them, and when it's all said and done, they definitely could be kicking themselves for not trying harder in the regular season and putting more value in finishing atop the conference.
When you also look at the Eastern Conference, I mean, we all heard what Jimmy Butler said. He said, just get me to the postseason and I'll carry us from there. And I know for some people, they just kind of roll their eyes, but let's be realistic. The Heat did go to the NBA Finals last year. I know people try to say it was all because of, the COVID-19, the bubble and everything. But when you have a team with veteran experience, that's got to be a little concerning for some of the teams in the Eastern Conference. I know if I'm the Sixers, I don't want to deal with the Heat, not because I don't think we can beat the Heat, but because if I'm the Sixers, I'm thinking, I don't want to deal with Jimmy Butler in my ear the whole series. That'd be annoying. So let Jimmy Butler be somebody else's thorn in the side in the first, second round.
Listen, I mean, nobody talks about Jimmy Butler working harder than Jimmy Butler. So whatever, I mean, he can parade all that up and down. I'm in the camp. I do think their run was a little bit fluky. I do think that there is something there. Jimmy Butler obviously played out of his mind in that postseason, but in my eyes, they're one of those teams that they're going to be a tough out, but they're not a team I'm necessarily scared of in a 7-game series.
I mean, I'm certainly more scared of them than the Hawks, but that's just my opinion. I think the Knicks. Okay,
hey, you can't slander the Knicks, Josh. Basketball is better when the Knicks are good. Haven't you heard? They're parading outside MSG off an 8-game win streak. I saw clips on Twitter. I thought they won Game 7 of the NBA Finals last night, Kevin, and nobody told me.
The year to Tibbs. Then that's the only trophy they're winning this year.
Give Julius Randle MVP.
No, stop.
He has saved New York basketball.
He has not saved New York basketball. The guy who saved New York basketball is Leon Rose and Worldwide West. Okay, because they're the ones who insisted on making the changes that have been made there to have this team where they are now. So if anybody deserves something, it's those two guys. I know that's not cool and fun and sexy because they're not on the court with a jersey with their name on the back.
Listen, there's going to be playoff basketball played in MSG this season. We just need to go all in and embrace it.
Listen, if the Knicks play the Nets, then I'll be all in on the Knicks winning it all, okay? Because I'll be like, please knock out the Nets because I want to see the headlines in the New York papers. That's what I would love to see. Otherwise, I just look at the Knicks and I see a team that plays really hard. But if they play a team like the Sixers or the Bucks or one of those teams in the playoffs, I see them getting wiped in 5 games.
After seeing what they're doing right now for 8-game winning streaks in the regular season, I am mortified to know what they're going to do if they're winning playoff games. So it should be fun.
Yeah, let's remind people the teams they've beaten on this win streak: the Hawks, the Hornets, the Pelicans, the Mavs, which I believe Porzingis didn't play in that game, the Pelicans, the Lakers without LeBron and AD. Yeah, great 8-game winning streak. Come on, Kevin.
Josh, the streets of New York are booming for the Knicks. Come on, stop trying to rain on their parade.
I rain on everyone's parade, don't you know?
Oh, man.
He's Kevin McCormick. Before I let you go, all right, I asked Brian Toporek about this the other day. What is up with these NBA uniforms? I mean, the other night I'm watching NBA basketball. The Bucks look like they're the Washington Wizards, and the Utah Jazz look like they're the Seattle Supersonics. Listen, maybe I'm an old man at this point, but why do we have to have the jerseys be completely different colors? Like, it's confusing. Like, if I'm jumping around between games, right? You know, the Sixers go to a commercial break, and I want to consume another game for about 2 minutes because I know these breaks take 10 million years for some of these networks. I want to watch some basketball, and I flip over, and I think I'm watching the Wizards. No, it's the Bucks. It confused me to no end.
I agree. It has gotten a little outlandish. The Bucks might even wear their blue jerseys tonight, where half the jerseys blue. None of it makes sense. Even the Sixers, I need to say their earned edition, I think it is, with the Liberty Bell in the middle. Those jerseys are horrid. They're horrid. They're an eyesore. I don't know why. Not only I don't know why they were made, but why they continue to wear them. It blows my mind.
I just don't understand. Like, I understand blackouts, right? I understand the NFL color rush. Like, that stuff makes sense to me. Not this, let's completely get a different color scheme. Like, when the Jazz were playing the Lakers on Monday night, I kept thinking I'm watching the Seattle Supersonics because that's what the Jazz uniforms look like. But no, it was the Jazz. And I only realized that because Mike Conley is playing point guard and not Gary Payton. It's just ridiculous. I don't understand who in the league thinks this is a good idea.
If they're selling jerseys, then it's going to make sense to them. That's really what it comes down to.
They can sell anything, Kevin. The NBA is the number 2 merchandise sport on the planet. All right. Number 2, there is more NBA merchandise sold than European soccer at this point. All right. But yet you're worried about jersey sales? You literally can sell anything with LeBron's name on it.
Fair enough, but that doesn't mean it. If you can get outlandish, I mean, why not? I respect the grind.
I don't respect it, but you know what? Kevin, you're a better man than me. Kevin McCormick joining us here at Kevin MCC NBA for all your Sixers and NBA coverage. Sixers versus Bucks tonight. He'll have all of his coverage over at 97.3 ESPN.com. As all guests, he appeared on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Kevin, always appreciate you jumping on and enjoy the game tonight.
No problem, Josh. You have a good night.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, our Sixers pregame coverage being brought to you by Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro, South Jersey's premier sports rehabilitation and physical therapy center, treating the pros and the Joes. Visit them online at trifectatherapeutics.com. We'll get back to all of your guys' thoughts and comments as you watch on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Also, 609-403-0973 for those listening in the radio audience. All coming up, your reactions next here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
He goes into the lane, and 2 guys are there, and he dunked the ball. What a lead pass by Ben Simmons.
The Sixers are in Milwaukee to face the Bucks tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Swing in to Matt Blatt Kia and put 0 down. A hit with 0% APR financing. That's deep for 75 months. A home run. Don't get fooled by a bad pitch. Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township needs your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. So get out of that old car you hate and get the credit you deserve with 0 down payment and 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on every new 2021 Kia Sportage in stock, or get a $2,500 consumer
summer rebates only at Matt Blatt Kia. We want to get you approved today, and you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Come in today or visit us online because
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through PM Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on $13.33 per 1,000 borrowed. Negative equity refinance into new loan. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 5/5/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Got a bucket list? Okay, now imagine that list if you won the $277 million Mega Millions jackpot. Taking a mega chance could mean making your wildest dreams a reality. After all, anything can happen in Jersey.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get to your thoughts and comments in just a bit. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just follow 97.3 ESPN to watch the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. Of course, Game Night with Josh Hennig. The Locker Room with Billy Schweim on the weekends. And more. We got you live for the Matt Blatt Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the export is open as well at 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Before we get to your thoughts and comments, Want to remind you of my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Basketball season is in full swing. One of the things I love about betting basketball with FanDuel Sportsbook is I love finding these new player props and game props I like and combining them together to get an even bigger payout with same game parlays. And you can only find them on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you haven't tried FanDuel Sportsbook yet, new users get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. All you have to do is download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up with my promo code Hennig. Just place a bet, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back in site credit if you don't win. Also, for new and existing users, FanDuel Sportsbook is giving you $25 back in site credit each day if your parlay falls one leg short with same-game parlay insurance. That's right. Every day, you can get up to $25 back in site credit every day if your same-game parlay bet falls one leg short. Remember, that's what happened to us a few days ago. We had Joel Embiid hitting 30 and more, Steph Curry hitting 30 or more, and we had the Sixers, Warriors hitting the under. You know what happened? We hit 2 out of 3. And if you would have had that same-game parlay bet, you would have still gotten up to $25 back on your bet with FanDuel Sportsbook. So again, the promo code is Hennig. When you sign up at sportsbook.fanduel.com, or if you download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today, promo code Hennig with FanDuel Sportsbook to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000 and start getting on the action with same-game parlays. Must be 21 or to play and present NJRPA. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit. That expires in 7 days. Max refund $25. See terms and conditions at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we got stuff to get to. People chiming in here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, 609-403-0973 is the text board. Also, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We'll get to all your comments here in just a bit. I'm just queuing everything up as we are speaking. There we go. Let's go first to Dan EHT on the text board at 609-403-0973. Dan says, the one thing the Sixers are missing is a true scoring guard. Maybe George Hill is that guy. Fultz was supposed to be that guy. Well, first of all, George Hill is not specifically here to be a scoring guard. He is here to be a facilitator and stabilizer of the offense, because when Ben Simmons is not on the floor, they don't have a real true facilitator. They don't have a guy that can go out there and handle business on the offensive end of the floor. Also, George Hill is a very underrated defensive player. He is a guy that you could ask him to deal with the Goran Dragic's, the Kemba Walkers, the Drew Holidays, guys like that in the playoff series, and he's going to slow them down. He may not be able to stop them all together, but he can definitely slow those guys down. So he is somebody who has a lot of value defensively and as an offensive facilitator. He's not a real true scoring guard, though. I think you're trying to place a square peg in a round hole there, Dan, from EHT. You're right. The Sixers, Fultz was supposed to be that guy, but he's not. So now what do we do? Well, what we do is we look at a situation like Shake Milton was supposed to be that guy coming off the bench, and he's had some amazing performances this year. You're looking at also a guy like Danny Green can light up from the outside. Seth Curry can light up from the outside. They're not real scoring guards, but they're shooters who can score in bunches. So I think the Sixers theory right now is if our shooters from the outside get hot, it fills that void of a true scoring perimeter player. And I think at times Tobias Harris has proven that he is more than capable of being that guy as well. Let's get one more comment in here before we run out of real estate here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers versus Bucks coming up next on 97.3 ESPN. Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid back in the lineup. No Ben Simmons for this 2-game trip. And, of course, Furkan Korkmaz is officially out for tonight. George Hill is in your starting lineup. Your starters for the 76ers tonight: George Hill, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. So, Sixers going with George Hill in the starting lineup to go with Seth Curry and Danny Green. So very interesting lineup. I expect George Hill to get about 6 assists tonight. We got a comment over here on the YouTube channel. I was making the comment about the Knicks GM deserves credit. And I'm just going to call you JR. For the radio audience out there, I'm not fully sure what half of this username is supposed to be, but on YouTube, it's JRCATCASTE. So I'm going to call you JR, but JR says, you act like the GM is out there playing. No, I act like the GM went in there and changed the culture. If you watched the Knicks for the last several years, the culture has been toxic. The culture has been horrid. The environment has been pathetic. Knicks fans are embarrassed to be Knicks fans. You had 2 gentlemen who came in here who have non-New York credibility in terms of the Knicks, in Leon Rose and Worldwide West, who have changed the culture, got Tom Thibodeau to come to this organization, changed the environment in the front office, changed the environment on the court. That's why I'm giving them credit. Sorry that bothers you, JR. I like to give people credit where credit's due.
It's your chance to win Sports Bash Cash up to $10,000. Enter the code words every day at 973ESPN.com or with the free mobile app. The more codes you enter, the more chances you have to win up to $10,000. Here's the Sports Bash Cash code word.
WASH. 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 Enter it now on our website, 973ESPN.com, or use the free mobile app. Sports Bash Cash is brought to you by Jersey Shore Federal Credit Union for all your lending needs. Get the next Sports Bash Cash code word tomorrow morning at 9:55.
It's Sports Bash Cash 10 times a day, every weekday at 55 after each hour from 9:55 a.m. to 6:55 p.m. Listen all day for your chance to win Sports Bash Cash up to $10,000.